Hello and welcome to your screencast following your workshop last week. So we did a session on called PPE, Do You Want a Mini-Me? And I think by the end of it, we all thought there were probably elements of attributes in ourselves that we want in students, but there's a mix of attributes that we all need from all the different temperaments and all the different types. And there's probably parts of ourselves that we see as pitfalls and we want to improve on, and there's also strengths as well. So I'll move on. So the learning outcomes were to raise personal insight and awareness and to reflect on previous students. Now, having read the feedback that you gave me, thank you for that. It was fantastic. It means a lot from me, feedback from clinicians, and I got really good feedback. And a lot of people said there was a good chance, a bit of time out to reflect and think about things, which I know you don't get a lot of working clinically. So the activity we did about what do we expect from a student, and these are some of the things you came up with. So being prepared, use of initiative, time management, motivated, presentable, friendly and approachable, adaptable and flexible, self-directed, self-aware, reflective, punctual. I think I prompted a bit with that one. Good communicator and a pre-placement visit, and that was quite a lot of emphasis on that pre-placement visit and empathy. So what I asked you to think about is that what attributes you want from the student. Do you see them in yourselves, and maybe making some allowances on days where maybe you yourself maybe don't feel as motivated or positive or empathetic or adaptable or flexible, because there's lots of factors that can influence that. And I think what's important when you have a student is you have them honest conversations, and the feedback is in the moment and in the time. So if there's a day where you're noticing they don't look as motivated today, or they maybe don't, sorry, that's emails, maybe haven't been as prepared as usual, maybe just having that conversation to say, I've noticed today you've not seemed as motivated. What's going on? And I think that's really important to do. So we did that reflection on some of the attributes and how we match against them. So we did the teamwork activity, which I know a lot of people cringe about, but actually I find them so fascinating. And we all you built some towers, and there's the picture of your towers. Julie's face is really funny on there, and I don't know, shortly after this she might have kicked the winning tower. Now what does that tell us, Julie? It's just funny, the difference in them looking there. What I meant to do, which I didn't do in the session, is I wanted you to actually, in your groups, think about what temperaments you had in the group and think about how that might have impacted how you went about building your tower. So if you can get in contact with each other, I don't know how easy this is, it might just be worth just thinking about and asking what temperaments you had in the group, and if that did have an impact on how you went about building your tower. Okay, so then we moved on to thinking about our strengths and pitfalls and how we're aware of them, and also whether we sort of own that. So we talked about Kiersey, and I gave you the handout for this, so I'm not going to read about this too much, but Kiersey was the guy who came up with the 4 different temperaments, and he did it as a way to help people have that self-awareness on personal traits and communications, and also about attitudes and values and roles that you play in society. So you all filled in the handout, so it might be worth going back to that and having another look at your description, just as a bit of further reflection. And we went through all the different types. So I'm not going to read through this because you've all got copies of them, but we had the guardian beaver, the rational owl, the fox and the dolphin. And we also start to think about what that meant. And we thought about particularly in relation to students, so how this awareness might impact on practice as a PPE. So if you were a owl, for instance, and you've got a student who's a fox, how that might affect, because owls are very sort of logical, regimented, quite structured in their approach, whereas foxes have a different approach. They're a bit more, can come across a bit erratic, maybe a bit jump from one thing to another, but they are very good creatively problem solvers, and also it's about thinking about, just because their approach is different, as long as the outcome is positive, it doesn't matter how people got there. However, if you're working with a student that has this approach and it's not working and they're not meeting deadlines, then you would have to have that conversation. But I have had it before where educators have said to me, well, they don't use a to-do list, they come across as disorganised and chaotic. And I said, well, have they ever missed a timeline? Have they ever not done anything that you've asked them to do? No. Well, why do they need to use a to-do list? So it's thinking about it in that way. And how might your blind spots or pitfalls impact on student learning? And what type might you find difficult to work alongside, and how will you manage this? So it might be worth going back to the reflections that you wrote and looking at them again and seeing if there's any more you want to add to that. And we shared a few. And then we rounded the session off, so thinking about personal insight and awareness and reflection on previous students. So I hope you found the session useful, and I am wanting to run more sessions like that, because like I said, it was a thank you from Hallam for having our students, and we always generally students have a real positive experience in Rotherham, and we could not do our course without you, so big thank you for that, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye.